All right, guys. All right, RBR Short Films 13, aka Ryan, and this is part two of my live stream. I guess ran into audio issues because I screen shared my live stream. I think because I was wearing my AirPods, there's just like audio issues. So I'm doing this live stream without my AirPods, so hopefully that doesn't I don't run into that issue again. Um, so I'm gonna live stream probably for like another hour or two, and then I'll get off here because I already did part one of a live stream. I did half of a live stream. Nobody joined it, which is fine. It was me just talking about history of my channel, and it's definitely something that people can rewatch by themselves. So, um, yeah, glasses off. Hope everyone's having a good Monday night. Um, I know Mondays are kind of the worst to do live streams and stuff, but the thing is, oh, today is literally the day 15 years since I created my channel, so I wanted to do a live stream on the actual day. Um, so yeah, I may not have a lot of people tune in, but that's fine. Um, you know, you guys, I'm sure will watch it. I hope you do the live stream when I'm done. But if anybody, joins, I'll be very grateful that I can talk to anyone. So I'll put in the chat, happy 15 years of RBR short films 13. And then let's put a effect, like a film effect. Oh, they don't have the emoji that I wish they had. Oh well. All right. Okay. Oh, Zach, hey. Congrats on the 15 years, man. Thanks, Zach. Hey. All right, you're the first person that's joined my live stream. I had a part one of the live stream. No one joined that for about an hour and a half, but I talked about a lot about my channel, so it's almost like a one long video of me talking. Um, but um, yeah, I mean, I would do a live stream on a different night because I know Mondays aren't really, a lot of people are on here. It's just I wanted to do a live stream on the exact day that my channel was created, which was October 14th, 2009. So just want to, I just think it's, everything comes full circle, you know? So I don't know. I feel like it's really celebrating it should be celebrating it on the day, that I actually created my channel. Um, but yeah, it's also 5 years since Halloween New Blood came out. Um, so that's one of my biggest movies I know on my channel. So happy 5 years! I'm actually going to create a group chat to my actors that were in that movie and celebrate 5 years. Um, talking about the 5 years of the movie. So I do that before it gets later. How you doing, Zach? How's your night going? How's your Monday night doing? Did you see Terrifier 3? Yeah, I saw Terrifier 3, it was pretty good, but I liked it a bit less than 2. Yeah, it's definitely, like, mixed a little bit, the responses of the 3rd one. Um, I really do like the 2nd movie, I really do. Uh, but I think I like the 3rd one just a little bit more, not way more, but a little bit more, and I think for that is because it was the runtime was shorter. Um, I don't think a slasher film needs to be 2 hours and 15, 20 minutes. Um, that's even longer than a Scream movie. So, this film was a little bit more tolerable in tone. I mean, not tone, in runtime. The runtime was just more, uh, just felt more like a slasher film because it wasn't as long. I don't know. Um, but the movie like went really fast. The pacing, it didn't really ever drag out too much. So I was happy about that. Yeah, it's made 18 million. Yeah, for its opening weekend. Like, I definitely wanna see it one more time, before it's on digital, 'cause I really enjoyed it. I was with a packed audience. I haven't been to a movie opening night, since, I don't even know if I went to Scream 6 opening night. I'll have to look back at that. And it maybe Scream 5, I did go opening night. It's been so long, but from what I can remember, a movie that I saw opening night, or like opening weekend like that, and that Friday night. It's been a very long time. So and I haven't been with an audience like that. Like that was the first time where I felt like I saw a real slasher movie on the big screen. Like it felt like those '80s classic slasher movies, Nightmare, Friday, Silent Night, Deadly Night, Black Christmas, um, all those classic horror movies from the '70s, '80s. These movies definitely really tribute that. And I miss that. I miss those movies. I miss that kind of filmmaking, and we get to see also like if the MPA didn't censor, all the kills in those classic horror movies, what we would have gotten in Terrifier films is, we get to see, if nothing was censored. So yeah, and it's pretty brutal. I'd say that like the second one has the bedroom scene, but like aside from that, the third one to me overall is worse. Like it's gorier. I feel like it is the goriest of out of all, even though like the first two are I mean, they're all pretty much tied in terms of gore factor, to be honest. My opinion. But if I had to pick the one out of like the most brutal one, probably the third one. I mean, that chainsaw scene, wow. And people walked out, to that scene, and then some after the opening of the movie, uh, or even like a little later on. Um, yeah, that's the thing is the gore was more real. It was more brutal, and you really felt it. Where and I remember being nervous when I went to see this because I'm like, "How oh my god, how much can I take?" How much can audience take, because it definitely, uh, w um, was, I mean, I've seen the Hatchet films and Hostel and Saw, and all those movies, but I just feel like this movie took that genre, that kind of horror to a whole different, level. Took it to a whole different level. Um, and, but it was, like, funny though, like, there was moments of humor, like the Art the Clown, like, there's just like, even in those, like, disturbing moments, the kills, like, you're still laughing at Art the Clown, his certain facial expressions he gives, and I like, uh uh, I mean, that's so much credit to the actor being able to be that messed up, play a character that evil and scary, but then be hilarious, like at the same time a lot of the time. Or for a moment to go from super hilarious to super dark and I'm disturbed, in like 10 seconds. Like it just I haven't seen this in the horror genre in my lifetime. Um Really the end of like those kind of slashers and everything was Freddy versus Jason 2003, because after that we had the remakes, and then we had Paranormal Activity, we had the Supernatural era, The Conjuring, and then Annabelle, and all that. Um, I just haven't seen a slasher film where we had an icon like this. Um, and it's almost like our generation's, um, uh, you know, Nightmare on Elm Street. It's like our generation's version of that. Um, and look back at these movies, and then I wonder how much worse can you get than this? The gore factor and stuff. It's like how I mean, the way Art the Clown used that chainsaw. I mean, it's like how do you get worse than that? Like I don't want to talk spoilers here if anybody who hasn't seen it. I would love to talk about it, but oh man, um, yeah, I really enjoyed the Christmas setting, the Silent Night, Deadly Night atmosphere, the that it's a Christmas horror film, um, but it had that 80s grindhouse style to it. So yeah, it was like the way horror movies used to be made. And so I haven't seen this in my lifetime. Honestly, I haven't, because I grew up with remakes, sequels to old franchises and prequels and you name it. Um, I haven't experienced a Terrifier 3, so this took it to a whole new level. I know Damien said Terrifier 4 will be the final one, but I wouldn't be shocked if he decided to do a 5th film if 4 does as well as the box office. Yeah, I think that he'll keep this going, honestly, probably until, like, the 6th movie or 7th movie. I see it being like Saw, where it was like 7 movies, originally. Uh That very well could happen with Terrifier. Um, but if anything, he would stop making these movies, it would be the 5th one, because the 4th one, there's no way it can fail. This movie is doing so well, this series is becoming so much more relevant and popular than it's ever been, that I can't, imagine it not doing well. The fact that this wasn't even 3rd one wasn't even funded by a big studio, and it made 18, 19 million its opening weekend for a movie that was on a budget of what, only a million or less than a million? I mean, the fact that it beat Joker, Folio Duel, you know, like that it's doing better. That it beat Joker, the last week, its box office. That says a lot, you know, and it says a lot about independent filmmaking. And are we seeing that? Are we getting a comeback of independent filmmakers, being able to get their films distributed mainstream like this? Uh, I mean, very rarely do we see this, but I hope we see more of this, because it felt it's so genuine, the filmmaking. It didn't knowing that it wasn't a studio behind it, uh, telling Damien what to do, what not to do. It's like you're seeing truly his vision of what he wanted for the film. So yeah, very rarely does this exist in era of movies. Um, so and we have a new final girl. That's amazing. Like the best final girl in ages. In ages, like wow. Um, yeah. I mean, the movie just was able to make you feel, able to have you connect with the characters and get into like the dramatic element of it. But then you also had then, these gory, gruesome kills. Um, but I like that it has a story in it. And I like that it was a mix of the first two where it was more like the first one, Art the Clown, just being Art the Clown, but it still had the story from the second one and took that to another place. It didn't focus on it as much, but it still did. So I like that mix. I mean, what did you think, Zach, of it? Do you have a favorite scene from Terrifier 3? Was there anything, was there, like, a reason, like, why you is there a reason why you enjoy the second film more than the third one? Like, what the biggest reason or some of the biggest reasons? I don't know, just curious. I know the whole Halloween vibe to the second, hits better for me, and even though it was longer, I felt the story was more cohesive to 2. I also love the music a lot. My favorite scene in 3 is probably the whole bar scene with Santa. Yeah, yeah, the second one has a very Halloween vibe to it, and I do love that about the second one, is the Halloween atmosphere that it brings. It definitely gives it, like, Halloween feel, 80s Halloween feel to it. Um, but I feel like the 3rd one was even more 80s with the Silent Night, Deadly Night, uh, uh, approach with its Christmas music, playing throughout and playing in, like, some of the darkest and goriest moments we've seen in a film. Uh, yeah, just Damien just really, did such a great job on the movie. And it's sparked a lot of controversy. It's very controversial, this movie. Um, but he's doing something right. Um, I mean, he definitely went really, really far, and I was already prepared. Like, I rewatched excuse me, I rewatched the second one, before, watching the third one, um, and last time I saw the first one was, back in October, I think, um, and, I don't know, I remember not liking it as much as I remember when I watched it, I don't know why, but, but but no, I still like it though. I just do think it could have been better. I think it's because the second one just really stepped it up and on so many levels. It obviously makes the first one look cheaper. Um, uh, but I don't know, for the third one to just not to have like a studio involvement, it felt like the biggest one. It felt uh, I haven't watched the first film since it came out. I really don't like that. Yeah, yeah. Um, some people think the most brutal kill of the series is in the first one, which I mean it is uh, pretty brutal. It's just a lot of people agree that that bedroom scene in the second one is that's like that's the worst you could get in any movie. It's so mean that scene, and the acting is so great in that scene, and you just feel just sick, when you watch that. There's no enjoyment at all in that scene at all. Like, there's nothing you can enjoy from that. It's whew. Um, but I don't know. I feel like the shower scene was just really, really gruesome. It really got me. Um, uh, yeah, because that scene just got worse and worse and worse. The gore, like it was almost like I couldn't believe what I was. I'm like, wow, this movie's on the big screen. This kind of movie's on the big screen. Like, Hollywood would never do any of this. Um, but it made everything feel more real, though. It made the story feel more real. The characters, everything felt more real, and I just love the use of practical effects. Um, I over CGI. I love that these aren't CGI movies. I think that's also why it's like, oh, I haven't seen this before because it's all practically done. There's never a shot where I'm like, "Oh, they use CG blood here." Like, everything looked real beginning to end, and I think that's why it was more unsettling and disturbing because there was never a moment where I felt something was CGI'd, computer generated. It all felt, uh, there, and that's what made it so brutal. Um, the bar scene was really, really good. It started out very comedic, very funny, the audience was laughing, and then you get to the end of that bar sequence, and you're just kind of speechless. I know I did see that actor at the H45 convention, last October. Uh, he's in Rob Zombie's movies a lot. Rob Zombie's Devil's Rejects, the Halloween remakes. Uh, he had a cameo in Three from Hell. Uh, I know him most from Rob Zombie movies. Um, uh, yeah, so it was cool that he was in this. I definitely think his acting could have been better. But he still did a decent job. Um, uh, and I like that he plays the only character that was like cool to Art, and and yet that even if you're cool to Art the clown, like, he's not going to give you a pass. Like, he's still going to kill you in the most brutal way. Like, I mean, definitely that was a great sequence. But yeah, very, very gruesome. All the methods of killing, torture that Art uses in this has got to be the worst, aside from the bedroom scene. If it weren't for the bedroom scene in the second one, um, yeah, because I mean, I'm not going to talk about that scene, but you know what I'm talking about with the rats. You know, that stuff really gets me. Like Sinister 2, there was a scene in that that really disturbed me when I first watched it, and I was surprised that Sinister 2 made me that disturbed. Um, where that movie's like hard to rewatch a lot because that one went pretty far for me. Um, and there's a scene in this that's like that. But it I don't know. I think because of art's like comedic humor and the way it was just edited and stuff, it wasn't like this like you're watching like an old film footage of like this family being, murdered by, with like in that way. It was had a different style and tone to that, but it was still really, really disturbing. Um, Anytime animals were used in horror movies, that kind of bothers me. I mean, but nobody was off limits in this movie. Kids didn't matter who you are. Like he's gonna come get you. And that opening was definitely telling people that, hey, if these aren't your kind of movies, this is the time to go. This is the time to leave. If you're not up for this, because it's just going to get worse from here. And I just remember wondering how many walkouts is going to happen. I'm like, all right, how bad is these first 10 minutes going to be? Um, and I definitely think the movie got worse as it went on. But yeah, it was almost like that one kill that was off screen, in the beginning. It was more disturbing not seeing it, but hearing those sound effects was the most disturbing thing of the movie was the sound effects. That's the power of sound too, by the way, in a movie. The sound effects, like, because those sound effects are nasty, nasty. I mean, you feel it when you hear those sound effects. I mean, you're like, oh my god. And whatever's happening off screen, it ain't it ain't pretty, it ain't tamed, it ain't it's the worst it can get. So yeah, but what a way to start the movie. I was wondering if that was really the first 10 minutes was going to be the Christmas family opening, or if it was going to be, or it was going to pick up right where the second one left off where it ended. I thought maybe that's where people were talking about, just stuff we didn't even see in the trailers that they were, not showing. And I thought maybe okay, it's going to be a really brutal 10 minutes of picking up after the second film, and then it'll lead into then the Christmas storyline of the third one. Um, but it did what I was sort of expecting because the second one had such a cliffhanger. Personally, excuse me, that the movie had to start with something before it went back to that storyline. It just had the opening of the movie had to like get people invested in uh, what to expect throughout the whole movie. So it's pretty ballsy opening, I think. Uh, just that opening itself. Um, but I mean, yeah, I mean it's a really really good movie. Um, uh, but yeah, those gore elements, those disturbing elements are going to remain disturbing. That's not going to change, but it's not going to ruin my love for the movie at all or anything like that. So, um, are you still there, Zach? Did I talk too long, Zach? Did I talk too long about the movie? Did I bore you? Okay. Not at all. I'm still here. I'm just listening, still putting away laundry. I've neglected doing that for a while. Oh, okay. All right. I didn't know. I didn't know. I'm just I'm sending quick and it's a group chat of Halloween New Blood. It's like all the actors that were in it and everything, and I'm just sending them the link to the movie in case they don't have the link, saved somewhere. Because I'll still have actors go to me and they'll say, "Hey, where do I find the movie?" I'm like, "Okay, I sent you a link, you know, how long ago and this and that." But yeah, good to know I don't get featured. Oh, so okay, my playlist, all my films, has um almost 1,500 views. The playlist, that's really good. Now the Devil Servants, those views need to go up. Um, like the first one is over 1,000 views, which is it's been that way for like 3 years. It hasn't got up to 2,000 or any the way I wanted to. And then the Devil Servants has still only 333 views, and yet that movie got like over 20 likes and stuff. I don't understand that. I think because they're age restricted is why. I think the age restriction hurt the Devil Servant movies. But what can I do? If I don't age restrict them, they're gonna get age restricted. So that's what sucks. Is all these movies I want to show to people, but, when they're age restricted, there's nothing I can do about that. Because there's also people that aren't on YouTube that are adults, and they wanna watch my movies, but then they don't wanna watch it anymore because they have to create a Google account to sign in. It's just, you know, sucks. Okay, share the link to them. I can get this over with here, the group chat. So, yeah, I have to thank anybody that is watching this that were in Halloween New Blood. I'll read it out loud what I sent in the group chat. Happy 5-year anniversary of Halloween New Blood. Thank you, everyone that was involved and helped make this film a reality. It's still one of my most successful fan films of all time. I have to forever thank Cassidy for being a co director on the film and helping me bring this classic to life. I hope everyone's having a great October. It's also been 15 years since uh, it's also been 15 years today since I created my YouTube channel. It's already got a heart too, so that's good. Well, Cassie responded to it. Awesome. Well, thanks, Cass. Sorry about that. Hey, Cass. Hey, thanks for joining my live stream. Yeah, I'm doing a 15-year anniversary live stream of my channel, RBRShortFilms13. It was created October 14th, 2009. Me and Cass we were living with our dad and our stepmom at the time, and I remember creating it one night, and I was like, "I can't be loud," so I was, like, whispering in the video, "Hey, guys, this is RER Short Films 13, and I'm gonna make the movie reviews, and let me know what you guys want, and we'll watch." That was my voice, was, "Hey, guys." It was definitely an era of YouTube. I mean, that's when Twitter was awesome. YouTube wasn't I mean, every, like, social media app was so much better back then. Like, really it was. It was before we got into the toxic era, of these, platforms. Um, it wasn't as toxic from I remember. It was more fun, um, and, yeah, I've seen the whole thanks to you 2, I've seen, like, how the world's changed so much, um, since 2009, and, if we're in 2024, 29 now. It's crazy, and I have to thank Cassidy through all the years, these 15 years. Um, she was co-director on Halloween New Blood, and so she really helped me get that movie made, because I was struggling at the time directing it, and she was there to help me direct the whole movie. She was there to help me with the editing process. She helped me with the music. She scored that whole film. um, we had a really great collaboration on that movie, and we learned a lot um, making that movie. So that was a lot of fun because the earlier days when we made like November 1st, November 2nd, Haunting, Revenge. Not so much November 1st. After November 1st, me and Cass we weren't best friends. Um, and it wasn't until uh, the Miner versus Jason a Ghostface story, where me and Cass, like, we became, like, really good friends, and, and really collaborated on my projects, and she's helped me with actors with thanks to her friends and people she knows, and, has helped me pick locations and sets, and, she's helped, um, create sets for me. She's done so much, camera work, filming so much stuff, being the camera person, helping with sound. I mean, she's helped me in almost every single form of making a movie. And yeah, and yeah, yeah, your coworkers, you know, uh, I mean, they really helped, bring a lot of my films to life. It's also thanks to our mom, all of her friends and her coworkers and how they've helped me with my movies. And it's just really powerful that it's 15 years. It's been 15 years of all that, and that it just went by. And I knew it was going to as well. That's why I made so many, because I knew that if I took any like long breaks, that I would look back and regret that I didn't make this or I didn't make that. Because life is so short; it doesn't pause. There's no pause button. And when there's no pause button, you know, it keeps playing, and you just have to keep going. So, um, yeah, I'm really excited for, my movies that are coming out. New Ghostface, I feel like there's going to be a lot of people's favorite. Um, and Rise of Elm Street is coming out next year. And that's my first Nightmare on Elm Street fan film. And then I'm going to move on and make other movies that aren't fan films. They're um, whether they're slasher movies or they're dramas or any genre, it's gonna be original, and I'm really excited for everyone to see that. So this is kind of the ending on a high note in terms of fan films, not short films, fan films. Uh, is New Ghostface and Rise of Elm Street. I thought very deeply of how am I going to go out with a bang with the fan films, and I figured it out, and it's very exciting. It's emotional too, because my first movie was a fan film with Cassidy. You know, it started all me and Cassidy in this motel filming a Michael Myers Halloween fan film. Our friend Kenny, playing Michael, and um, we didn't we didn't think that that the movie was gonna become so popular with people, and that I would get so many subscribers because of it, and that people wanted a sequel. And I remember that was like unexpected. Like Cassidy wasn't expecting. I mean, none of us were. So it was uh, almost like a shock. Um, yeah, we were just bored at the motel. We're like, hey, let's just go ahead and make this, fan film. It'll probably get like 100 views, and that's it. Probably like you know average rating. I don't know. It was just to just get a fan film out there on my channel. I didn't expect for that to for it to become so successful that it did. I mean, I had not only people on YouTube comment on that movie, but just people I knew in real life that discovered it. That I'm like, how did you find this movie? I mean, it was not prepared for that at 14, and I had to definitely deal with a lot before November 2nd was fully finished, and when that came out, mentally, I dealt with a lot of things mentally because I was overwhelming myself and just not. Um, so I learned a lot throughout these 15 years, like how to make a movie, how to not make a movie, learning how a film affects me mentally, and to pay attention to that, and just a lot of life learning lessons through these movies. And thank you, Cass. You have too, Cass. You've grown so much, and you grew as an actress and as a person. I mean, so many different ways. Um, we both look back at who we were, at 14, and then we look at who we are now. You know, um, it's pretty amazing. How much we've matured, how much we've grown up, and that's a part of life. And then you enter your 20s, and that's when you know really work on yourself. So when by the time you get to your 30s, you have it figured out. You have not maybe 100%, but you have enough figured out to where you're not in the state of what am I doing? Because that's the whole power of being in your 20s is to get to that place of knowing where you want to get to, and where you want your life to be. So uh, yeah, and me and Cass, we went to the H45 convention last year in October in LA, which was the most fun I ever had in my life. Was going to a Halloween convention with Cass. It was just so exciting. We met Davey, and we met so many actors. I was able to get autographs. Cassie was able to get pictures with the actors with me. It was so much fun. We met so many people. We saw all these iconic filming locations, and it's just a memory I'll never forget. Um, and uh, I gotta go, Ryan. Love you. So proud of you. Iconic trip. All right, Cass. I love you too. I wish you could have stayed longer, but I'll see you soon. Thank you so much for joining, Cass. And again, just thank you. 15 years, all that you've helped me with my movies, everything you've done. Like, thank you sincerely. I love you, and I hope that we just we continue to collaborate, in any form, in the future. So, thank you, and wait till you guys hear like her future music from my movies too. It's gonna be so epic. So, all right, but I love you, Cass, and I'll see you this weekend. Uh, if I'm correct, I'll see you this weekend. Yes. Now, is the Halloween party this weekend too, or is that going to be like the weekend after? Okay. Cass, tell Zach which haunted house we're going to. What's it called? I don't know what haunted house that we're going to. Honestly, Cassidy knows this information better than me because she made the plans for this. So I'm still finding out what um all the information. There's some good ones around here, but I'm not sure. I'll have to FaceTime you and we can narrow it down. Okay. All right, that sounds fair. Yeah, yeah. I didn't know if you wanted to like, carve a pumpkin this year or not. Um uh I mean I'm going to, but if you wanted to, let me know. Because last year we ran into that problem where we went to get pumpkins towards the end of Halloween and they were like all gone or all bad. So yeah, I think it'd be smart if we carve pumpkins sooner this year than later. But yeah. Well, okay, cool. We'll get some this weekend. All right, cool, cool, cool. Yeah, I also got a costume cast for the Halloween party from Spirits. I got Art the Clown from Terrifier. I just got this costume. Just wanted to show you. So I'm already set to go for the Halloween party. I just saw Terrifier 3. And yeah. So this is Art the Clowns. I was in Terrifier 2. I'll talk to you soon, Cass. I love you. Thank you for joining the live stream. Happy 15 years. You celebrate as well because this is also for you as well. It's not just me celebrating. Like you know pat yourself on the back and yeah, I'll see you soon. I love you. And watch new Ghostface the rough cut I sent you. Some people are watching it. I'd love to hear your opinion. No music is added except for the end credits. So the movie's not, of course, the music's not added yet. And there's a couple things, small things that I'm changing. I know. So don't worry. It's not, when you watch it, it's not like the, final cut of the movie or anything like that. But please watch it when you can. And yeah, let me know what you think. But I hope you have a great week, Cass, and I'll see you this weekend. I love you. Okay. Zach, you said Bates Motel was pretty good, but go early in the night because I'll get crowded because it'll get crowded as hell. All right, good to know. Bates Motel. Now, is that here in Abington? Or like where in PA is that? Oh, okay, Westchester. Okay, that's about like 40 minutes away from where I am. Hmm. Um. Well, feel free to send me a link uh on Facebook if you could of like the website of the uh the place because then I could send that to my sister and it just gives us more options. I mean, how I find out, like, where these things are or whatever, it's asking people that live, obviously, in the area and to get the information from them. So, um, yeah, but that's only if, you want to, send me info on that place. Um, yeah, so, Cassidy, yeah, big thanks to her, um, for everything, really, and, it's just really, really powerful. That's just been 15 years already. Um, just wowing. Oh, thank you, Zach. I got your notification. Okay. My mom sent me a message. Mom, she sent a message in the group chat. That's cool. People are responding, which is awesome. I'll definitely have to watch Halloween New Blood tonight. Um, uh, Feel free, Zach, to check it out. You know, um, if you feel like rewatching it. Um, Earlier, I was actually trying to screen share. Earlier, I was screen sharing my screen of like playing like one of my fan films. Only one or short films. Only one that I can play really is Twilight Short. If this is because this is a non-age restricted live stream, so I can only really play any of my movies that aren't age restricted. That's the only one that isn't age restricted. Um, but it's cool that I can sort of have a commentary while it's playing. So I don't know if you'd be interested in that. I mean, the movie's only like 8 minutes, so if you wanted like a hear like a live commentary of it, um, I figured why not? Because this live stream is all about that. It's about every single movie of mine. It's not just about one film. Um, or if there's anything that you'd want me to screen share, like to play in the background, a movie trailer or anything that I've done, um, any behind the scenes videos of something, let me know because I want to play something that is, you know, that people would like to watch. But I wouldn't mind playing the Twilight fan short again in this live stream, the second live stream. Um, also when people that don't join this live stream, and they watch it later, they can sort of get that commentary. But I don't want to bore anyone that's in the live chat. Yeah, I haven't done a commentary of my movies in a long time, and I need to get around to it, like really bad. I need to get around to it. So I will definitely do more commentaries. Uh, when I'm done with Rise of Elm Street, that's when I'm taking a break from my movies for a while in terms of starting to film a movie and then edit it and all that. Like it's gonna be I'm gonna be getting back into like a lot of reading, um, some drawing, and also writing a lot. So I'm going to write a lot of new movie storylines, new scripts. I want to finish a book that I've been writing for years. Um, there's a lot that I want to do before my next movie after Rise of Elm Street. Um, and for there to be more movies, I have to create more scripts. So um, uh, I'm definitely going to be doing more commentaries and also get your opinion real quick. Should I do a super cut, create a super cut of Destiny of Ghostface Part 1 and 2, like how it would have been if it was one movie? Should I create a like a new cut of that of both of those movies, like kind of put them together? Um I've been thinking about it for years, but I never have actually like got around to do it. Um, but I want to know like if people actually want to see it, my subscribers. Um, and I also thought about maybe re-editing Revenge of a Ghost Face, because I never got to properly edit that movie myself, um, when that movie was coming out. So, but that's if I know that there's going to be anyone interested, if I make that, but just let me know. Like to get, I'll create like polls and stuff, um, and anybody that's watching the live stream, after it's been, they watch the recorded, version where it's, later, post a comment, please, about that. Um, yeah, that'd be interesting to see. Okay. Yeah, I just, I want to go back to like bloopers. I want to create like gag reels for every single movie in the past that I haven't created bloopers for, because I have so many good bloopers of so many of my movies where literally that'd be a whole thing of itself, is just editing, going back to all the footage just to get the bloopers out, and basically keep what I had to all get rid of when I was actually putting those films together, and then getting rid of what I, needed originally. So, but it would be something fun to do. Would be a gag reel, because yeah, they're super fun. But I plan to release a lot of behind the scenes stuff of New Ghostface as well. So that'll be coming out. But here we go. I'm going to share my screen. It does not mess up any of my audio. Okay. All right. Here we go with the Twilight fan short. Do you see it, Zach? Okay. Now, how is it full screen? I have it full screen. Now, am I still in the shot, or is it you just hear the audio and you see the movie full? You're still in the shot. Full screen looks great. Okay. All right. This is still new for me. I've this is like this technology is still new. No, no, I'm fine being in the shot. I mean, that makes it a more of a, live commentary. I'm just hoping I'm doing everything right. This stuff is just very, very difficult for me. um, I've never um, really experienced this. So eventually, one day, it'll be like nothing, for me. But for some reason, it's just still feels very new. But all right, here we go. Commentary for Confession, a Twilight fan short. Okay, lower this down a bit so you can hear me better. All right, so I wanted to make a fan film, a Twilight fan short, for a long time, but I didn't quite know how my audience was going to react to it because it's Twilight. And I remember when Twilight came out, it was like very mixed responses, and um, it was definitely nervous to make one because I was worried if it would hurt my channel, subscribers. Did exact opposite of that. This fan film is doing very well on my channel. This was filmed in April of 2018, and this movie had a lot of rehearsing, script readings. Um, it was one of my few movies where it was like the setup before the movie like felt like actual movie process, like before a movie. Like we were all in this room reading the script, rehearsing the scenes, acting them out. The actors getting like makeup effects done on them from like a professional, so they could look um, really good as vampires, and the costume design, and I mean, it felt like theater a lot when I was growing up. It had that theater feel to it, and it was just a lot of fun. I was hoping that Stephanie Meyer would like this movie as well. This is a tribute to Twilight, the franchise, the movies, the books. She never responded to me, um, but I still put a thank you in the group in the credits and everything. Um, because Twilight got me through a lot when I was in middle school and high school, and I felt like I had to do at least one fan film of Twilight to thank that franchise, and to show also that Twilight isn't all a love story, that there's so many characters in that universe, that world, that there's so many other stories. And I do wish Stephanie Meyer would have done more with that. Um, and maybe one day we will see expansion of all these characters, but it will be obviously a rebooted storyline and everything.
I wish we had a mind reader.
Yeah, that's what was kind of fun about this movie, is it wasn't a love story. It was just dramatic. It was like, Interview with the Vampire kind of, style vampire movie, done for Twilight.
Yes, yes, you do.
And when I wrote the script, I wanted the script to be very Twilight. I knew it had to be different from all my other movies, because all my movies are horror films. So this had to be written and everything like the books, like the films. So I was writing all this dialogue that was just, no cussing, no this or that. It was a certain structure. But Cassie did an amazing job. I love Cassie in this role. I think this is her best acting of any movie she's done. This is probably my favorite role that she's done, is Avis, the vampire here. And then Shanae, who plays the other vampire, works for the Volturi. She did an amazing job. We did so much rehearsing for this.
Be forgotten.
So it's just so cool that what we created and what we were able to do. This was shot in the day here. I added blue here. This is when I was like exploring coloring more, color grading, and like, could I film a scene in the day and have it be set at night? Because it's hard to film scenes at night. The lighting, it's very hard. I mean, when you're low budget, so it's like convenient when you're able to just like color grade it blue, like this. And tools keep getting better and better for like creating nighttime scenes. So,
Would you like to see the world?
but this ending here was kind of, maybe set up another movie in case there was like a sequel to it. But that never happened. But I left it open just in case.
Welcome.
But it still has a complete story. But yeah, this was shot in broad daylight, that scene, but I had to make it look like it was nighttime, because vampires can't be out in the sunlight, So I had to do something about that. I remember the weather was really cloudy then when I was making this movie, so I thought that I was all good. I didn't have to darken the lighting and stuff in the movie too much in the editing room. But the day I filmed this movie, it was one of the sunniest days of the year. After a day, it was like super cloudy and rainy and looked just like Twilight. And I was so angry. I'm like, oh my god, no! It's so sunny today. I'm like, we can't film this. So, color grading this movie was very tough in the editing room, because I had to make it look like Twilight. It couldn't look like, the way it did. I had to darken everything, the grays, the blues, and just really make it look like Twilight. And I'm really grateful people like this movie or love this movie. It was a really fun project to make, and it was the first movie that I made with Cass where we really collaborated. She wasn't like the co-director. She wasn't the, director on the movie, but she was very involved in the editing process of this movie because she had to re-record all her audio. Actually, like the scenes where she's talking, every single line is redubbed, is ADR because when we were filming, the vampire teeth like was really hard with the actors. Like it was hard for them to talk with the teeth, so we'd have to record multiple takes because of the issues with the vampire teeth. So her voice kind of it like uh didn't sound too great. It sounded cheesy. So I'm like, all right, Cass, we have to re-record all of your audio because you have to sound clear the whole time. And it was hard for her, but I'm really proud of her because she ADR'd her voice really, really good, and I think it really helped this movie. It really did, and she sees that too. So, um, yeah, and I was happy with how people responded to it. I wanted to end the movie on a shot like the end of the first one, where it's like you, s- it's like water, like some pond, some lake, and then you get like this reflection of the water with like the trees, the dead trees, and then add that kind of like blue, cold, twilight look. And because the first movie had that kind of look to it. I mean, Breaking On Part Two had rolling credits that were similar, but the first one really had that that my favorite and rolling credits of any of the Twilight films was the first one, and I just wanted to use that because I thought that just the shot of like the water and the trees, like that. The fact that what you're looking at while these credits roll is me literally filming water. And when I did get this shot here too, it was super cloudy when I shot this, and it was raining too. So it was only probably about a minute of footage, and it was slowed down. Um, but uh, it was such a fun shot to get, and it's so Twilight. It's so Twilight. So I think this is one of my best closing credits for any of my movies. And it was the first time people ever saw my new intro of RBRShortFilms13, the one I've been using since 2018, which is the blue or the red RBRShortFilms13 logo. So yeah, that's the movie. Confession, a Twilight fan short. Um, I made it under 10 minutes, so it's pretty much the length of Halloween November 1st. I wanted to do something where it was a short where it's like one scene and two characters and the drama between those two characters and what's going on. And for that to be the only really, story and everything, like almost like it's a chapter of a book. Like this whole thing is a chapter in like a book, you know. There's so much more to the story. But um yeah, it was just so much fun, and I would love to do another Twilight fan film, but they're so hard to make because of the effects um and everything. Uh, the makeup effects, the eye contacts, just all that. So I don't think I've ever seen this film of yours. Oh, really? Okay. It came out June 30th of 2018, and I released it June 30th because June 30th, that would mark, uh, at that time, 8 years since Twilight Twilight Saga: Eclipse came out, which that was the only summer Twilight film I remember. That was June of 2010 that came out right after I graduated middle school. And, I had mixed responses about the movie, but it was fun not having to wait a long time after New Moon to see it, and, uh, I don't know, it just felt like a good release date. because Twilight usually always gets that November release, that fall release of anything. So I thought June 30th was good. Also, because I was gonna work on The Double Servant, I worked on The Double Servant right after the Twilight short. In fact, I started filming The Double Servant right after, to where I didn't even edit the Twilight short yet, the Twilight fan short. I didn't edit it until I completed filming The Double Servant, which was the beginning of May. So once I completed filming Double Servant, then I started editing uh, Confession of Twilight fan short. So 2018 was a big year for my channel because right at the beginning of that year, February 14th was the Miner versus Jason, a Ghostface story, and then June 30th was the Twilight short, and then October 6th was the first Double Servant movie. So yeah, 2018 was like one of my favorite years. Um, my opinion, it's one of my favorite years because it went so well. I mean, ran into some problems, but overall, that was a great year for my films. It really was. Because Halloween New Blood, that was a super fun movie, but it was very stressful. Um, I was dealing with certain things at the time when making that movie, and it was just tough. Uh, and I was happy how well it turned out, and I have to thank Cassidy because that was just at a time where I got 3 movies done, Twilight, you know, uh, Friday, Jason, and Ghostface, and The Miner, and then Double Servant, my own original, universe and everything. It was just a lot where I definitely needed a break after that, and I didn't give myself a break because I wanted to get out a Halloween fan film before Halloween Kills was going to come out because I wanted to do my version of a direct sequel to Halloween 2018, uh, like a what if, because I knew they were going to go a certain direction with the story. I had a feeling it was going to be Laurie focused, so I thought, well, what if the Michael Myers from 2018, since his motive isn't Laurie, what if um, just that whole family just moved, to a different country and said screw it, and Michael stayed in Haddonfield and is just going after random people like he did in the original. I thought that was an interesting concept, and I wanted to explore that. Um, and Yeah, so even though it was fun, it was super challenging. I was also making Halloween November 4th that year, which was the conclusion to the Halloween November movies. So it was 2 Halloween fan films in 1 year, and I was like the main director on November 4th. So even though Cass co-directed New Blood, I mainly directed November 4th, but she had a lot of involvement with November 4th because she was uh, directing Halloween New Blood with me like all the time. So she was always like there, and she's like, all right, I'll help you out, with the editing and all that. So it was definitely 2019 was the year for Halloween fan films for me. That was my Halloween fan film year. Um, and I was so excited to do something entirely original and all over again with the Devil Servants and Insane Cage of Madness. I was really excited, so I started making those, and then we entered that lockdown, and then that affected my movies for quite a while. So Cage of Madness Part One was not a fun movie to work on at all. It's a bad memory, very bad memory. That movie. Um, and Devil Servants, even though that was a lot of fun, our world was still, you know, getting back to certain normal, and it was still tough to make that movie. I wasn't able to make the Devil Servants in the way I wanted to make it. Like the way I made the first movie, I got a lot what I wanted with the first one, more so than with the second one. And the second one, I wish I would have had more time on. I wish I would have had more time on. Um, So yeah, I sometimes I wish that I could just redo the Double Servants. I could redo that movie, um, uh, because it's hard to do a sequel to the next one because um, one of the actors will not come back, and there's no way I can continue the story without that actor. So I either have to do a reboot of the Double Servant movies, uh, basically do the first one all over again, but a rebooted story, or make a third one that is new characters, and does something different. Um, so I'm still figuring it all out of where to go with the Double Servant movies. But yeah, the Twilight short was that was just something that I wanted to do. I knew that wasn't going to be like the future of my channel was, fan films that weren't horror, and I still wanted to make horror, short films, fan films. But I love fantasy. I love that genre, and I wouldn't mind making a fantasy film in the future. I love that genre, fantasy, a little bit more than science fiction. It's like I enjoy more science fiction movies, but the genre of science fiction and fantasy, I prefer fantasy. My opinion, personally, I would rather make a fantasy film than science fiction. It's just science fiction, um, that's just not easy. Come writing a script. Yeah, yeah. I That's probably one of my not one of my biggest strengths is science fiction. Even though I have a storyline, a movie I'd love to make that science fiction, but I would need a massive budget to make that movie. There's no way I could make that low budget. And that's the problem with science fiction is movies are science fiction. I need a big budget, to make that a movie. Um, there's just no way uh, to make that film with no budget. So even if it had a low budget, it still wouldn't work. So it's very difficult. But with fantasy, it's easier for me, um, and that's a genre I want to explore more. And then drama. The reason I worry about drama and romance is they're very hard to get people to watch and to enjoy. Apparently, horror movies are the what is the most successful right now, the most popular, which wasn't the case when I first started my YouTube channel. Horror movies weren't so much of a thing in 2009, 2010, 2011. Comedies were bigger. They were much more of a thing. Were comedies, and other genres at the time, but horror has really like been taking over, uh, especially in the 2020s. Horror has become very popular. I think it's movies that you can make on a low budget and you can make tons of money as well. So I can see why it's so successful. But it's just wowing to see the love the horror gets now that it didn't when I was growing up. What kind of fantasy, like Lord of the Ring? What kind of fantasy, like Lord of the Rings fantasy, or more out there fantasy? Just fantasy in general. Um, uh, there's fantasy is just this huge genre that you can do so much with, um, and that's what makes it very interesting. Um, and also, like fantasy, it can all be set like in one world, in one. You can come up with a lot of cool stuff and bring that to life in a reasonable budget. Sometimes no budget at all, depending how it's done. Fantasy can really you can go certain places with it that like I couldn't imagine. But Yeah, I mean, I could easily tell a whole fantasy storyline with characters and have it be all like set in forest location. It could be a planet where it's just a forest planet, but it's not science fiction. It's a different version of Earth. Because Middle Earth, Lord of the Rings, it's a different version of Earth, and I like that concept. That's more interesting to me than a planet that doesn't exist. Um, uh, so I like that challenge of like making the world a different world, but keeping similarities and keeping things that are relatable and um, yeah. I mean, it's a complex genre, but it's just more tolerable than fantasy. Now, I've never made a science fiction movie, so I can't really say that oh, I've had a bad experience or whatever because I haven't made any science fiction movies. So I don't quite fully know how I would feel, but I have experience with the Twilight short and um, uh, screenplays that I've written. A book that I've been writing for years is fantasy. So I love like werewolves, you know, vampires. I love mummies. Um, fantasy versions of mummies, witches, uh, um, that kind of fantasy. Uh, so not necessarily all like horror fantasy, but I like telling I like to tell those kind of storylines. Um, because I don't know, just I just love that those stories. Someone becoming a werewolf and what happens when they become a werewolf. What kind of werewolf are they? Um, Witches are very interesting. I haven't really explored that, but I know a lot of people like witches, so I feel like that would do really well. Um, uh, I have a lot of fantasy ideas. Um, I was even thinking about one that's about mummies, but then I worry like, is that like offensive? To like the history of mummies and stuff. Like, is there a line I'm not supposed to cross? You know, um, that's like my only worry about mummies. Like, how far can I go with that? Um, and vampires, are very interesting. I don't feel I'm not like interested in really making a vampire movie because I feel like we've gotten enough vampire films and shows. I feel like what we need to see more of is werewolves, witches, mummies done right, not wrong. Um, and of course just fantasy storylines that are original and things that have never been done before, of characters, creatures that have never existed. They're not alien characters, right, but they're different versions of you know like the orcs, and Lord of the Rings. I mean, Lord of the Rings is a great example of so much that you can do with fantasy. um, and I don't. It gets more and more intriguing to me the older I get. I wasn't a big fan of fantasy as a kid. I mean, I liked it, but I didn't love fantasy till I became an adult. Honestly, I didn't get into Lord of the Rings until I was an adult. Um, I just couldn't get into them because I wasn't. I was more of a science fiction person as a kid, but when I got older, I liked fantasy. Um, and Lord of the Rings were great movies to watch, like to learn as a filmmaker and as a screenwriter, author, like to learn any all that. Lord of the Rings is great to learn about films and uh, uh, just a lot. What Peter Jackson was able to bring to life with those three movies is brilliant. And Return of the King won 11 Oscars, won Best Picture. I mean, uh, and Return of the King is my personal favorite one. I mean, Fellowship is my second favorite after Return of the King. But you can also look at all three Lord of the Rings movies as one long movie because you're when you watch all three, that's 9 hours. So it's like this. Really, it's like one long TV show, or something like that. Because whenever I do watch all three, I mean, you got to be dedicated because it's they're all long and you have to sit through every single one because I can't just watch Fellowship and that's it. I have to watch all three movies every time I watch Lord of the Rings. One of my favorite current fantasy book universe is the uh, Cosmere by Brandon Sanderson. Can't wait to see how some of his series gets adapted. Okay. I like Anna Rice. I don't know if you've heard of Anna Rice from um she wrote Interview with the Vampire, Queen of the Damned. Um uh I love the vampire books that she wrote, and she wrote a book about I think she wrote a werewolf novel, and I still need to get around to reading that because um I'm a big fan of Anna Rice's like books from her early on in her career. Um and what she did with the vampire lore is just really, really epic and dark, and showed like a gritty portrayal of vampires, um, almost like the most realistic interpretation I've seen of vampires is the Anna Rice vampires. It almost feels like if vampires existed, they would be the Anna Rice vampires. Um, I don't know. I prefer the extended editions of Fellowship and Return of the King, but theatrical for Two Towers. Yep, I agree. I agree, 100%. Yeah, the extended cut of Two Towers is kinda too long. Yeah, it didn't need to be, uh, that long. I mean, the theatrical cut of Two Towers is, like, perfect length. Um, so, yeah, but the extended cut of Fellowship, so great. And then especially Return of the King extended cut is the best extended cut of all 3. Because I mean, they took out the Christopher Lee scene, the only scene that he was in, and I remember reading that he was mad at Peter Jackson when the movie came out, that he didn't include his scene. Um, so the fact that that wasn't released until the extended cut, because everyone was like, "What happened to Christopher Lee's character?" You know, um, so I don't even know why that was cut. Really, I mean, I know runtime, but that scene wasn't that long. I mean, and it's so crucial. I was the only thing in the extended cut where I watched where I'm like, this really should have been in the theatrical cut, was this scene here. I don't know why it was cut. I don't know why Peter Jackson made that decision or if it was a studio, because it sounded like Christopher Lee, he didn't even know that they were cutting his scene out. So it wasn't like he was like, going to the studio like, "Oh, I don't want my scene in there." Um, but yeah, I mean, I get it runtime, but I would have rather him have like shortened, like one of the other scenes in the movie to keep that scene because it's such a crucial moment. You have Brad Dourif and Christopher Lee. I, how do you cut that? You cut that out. And you have to have a closure story with Christopher Lee's character, you know? He had the fight with, Gandalf and just his story and Fellowship and Two Towers. I mean, you expect a proper conclusion to, his story, and so not only in the extended cut, he's only in it for, like, a minute, but you take that out, and he's not even in the movie at all. And it's like, well, it just doesn't feel. I cannot watch the theatrical cut of Return of the King. I just can't. Like, I always feel like I'm missing something that I watched if that scene is not in there. So, because I did watch the theatrical cuts first, and then I watched the extended cuts after. Um, and I thought the extended cuts added a lot more to the theatrical cuts. Um, uh, but it's crazy though that Christopher Lee was the only person who worked on those films that actually met Token. Yeah, yep, yep. But Token, I mean, he's from the 40s. I mean, I wouldn't expect everybody that worked on those movies to have known him, especially that a lot of them were young. A lot of actors were young on those movies and crew members. So uh, yeah, I mean, definitely realistic that not everyone met him, but I think it was the most like wow, he didn't meet him was Peter Jackson, since Peter Jackson he brought Lord of the Rings to life. For him not to meet Token, you know is that's huge, because I wonder how the movies would have turned out if he would have met him, and had like a meetings with him, and how that would have went, and also how the family estate has handled um, the franchise because they don't allow the rights to Warner Brothers or any studio to do this. The Silmarillion, that's what it's called, right? The Silmarillion, which is a prequel to The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. It's like the beginning of Middle Earth and all those characters. Uh, um, People have been wanting to see that, for ages, and the family estate won't allow it. Um, I think at some point the family estate is going to, there's just no way that they're going to be that greedy for hundreds of years, you know, when money is to be made, you know. So I'm sure it'll happen. Um, don't know. It probably won't be made until I'm in my like 50s, 60s, But well, now that Token's son is gone, I think they're gonna start being more open about things. Oh, okay. I didn't know his son died. Okay. Yeah, then yeah, it's gonna happen for sure. Yeah. Especially after like I'm not a fan of the Amazon Lord of the Rings. I look at those trailers and I'm like, This isn't Lord of the Rings at all. It has no Peter Jackson vibes, no like any of that. It feels like a different universe. It doesn't even feel like Middle Earth. It doesn't feel like Middle Earth. And uh, I think was proven that Lord of the Rings can't work as a TV show. That it should be a trilogy, and 3 hours per movie. I think Peter Jackson did it perfectly. Honestly, you cannot like get better than that ever. Like Lord of the Rings films, like the way they were done. It's a work of art. It's like they're as great as the Godfather movies, where you can't remake them. You can't never redo that ever again. Because it's the best that's ever been done. Like it's a lightning in a bottle. You can't strike lightning in a bottle twice. Disney tried that with Star Wars, you know. But yeah, you can't do that with Lord of the Rings. Uh, I don't think it needs a reboot. I'm fine with the movies, those great extended editions, and for it to be left there, I don't know. You know, I mean, we got the Hobbit movies back in the 2010s. Those that wasn't like 30 years ago or anything. Um, so in fact, the extended cut came out in 2015. So I would love to see an adaptation of. I'm talking about the extended cut of the Battle of Five Armies. Came out in 2015. I would love to see an adaptation of the sequel Token had started, but then abandoned because it was depressing as hell to write. Yeah, yeah, but if it's not finished, you know, because it's like if however the movie would end or whatever, it wouldn't be what was his intention. I mean, unless they would somehow be able to end the movie where he ended the book, that where he never finished it and make that feel conclusive in some way. I don't know. I mean, that would take a really clever filmmaker, a really clever studio to pull that off, of something that he never finished. Um, yeah, but that is interesting. But that is very interesting that he was writing um, the sequel, and it was too depressing. I mean, you get to that ending of Return of the King, and it's so dark. You know, Return of the King is probably one of the darkest movies ever made. The tone is just so intense. It's so heavy. So um, yeah, um, it, definitely the Return of the King. I think was the most token out of all of them because of how heavy the tone was. Because it's such a dark story, and Return of the King was so on that level. Um, and I'm sure like um, uh, whatever happened after Return of the King, it's not the happy ending that we probably thought or expected or we would expect. I'm sure it was different, especially the ending of the book, Return of the King, is different from the movie. So I have a feeling that like Middle Earth after those first three books, those three books, um, it has to be dark. It has to be because like it's after that war, and there's no way that Middle Earth would be the same after that. It would always be different. Um, it would be interesting to see a Lord of the Rings storyline that's after Return of the King. Um, but yeah, only if they kept what Tolkien wrote and really just did that. Because I don't want to see fan fiction, you know, I because it's not Tolkien, and so I'd much rather them just not make it than. Um, but yeah, it's a very interesting. It's very interesting because I did always wonder like what happened after, but I thought it ended really well though, very conclusive to where I didn't need to know what happened after Return of the King. I was happy with where it ended and the story we got. I want to see the Silmarillion storyline. We got Lord of the Rings, we got The Hobbit, and I'd love to see now the Silmarillion. I wouldn't mind The Hobbit redone someday, and for it to be a 3-hour movie, all three movies in one. I would love to see that, or at most 2 movies instead of 3 movies, and it's all wrapped up in a two-parter. I would love that because The Hobbit should have been 2 movies. What hurt The Hobbit movies was it being 3 movies instead of 2. Um, because Unexpected Journey and Desolation of Smog could have been 1 movie, realistically, and then Battle of 5 Armies could have been the 2nd film, um, and that would have been enough. Um, it could have even been to where, like, the ending of the first one could have been when Bilbo is in the room with the gold and Smog wakes up, and you have that shot where you see that full view of Smog and "Do you now?" And, that would have been a great cliffhanger if it would have ended there, the ending of the first one, you know? And then the next movie would pick up with that part of the book with Smog talking to Bilbo, um, and how that leads into him then attacking the village, and then how that starts a war. Um, that's definitely a movie of itself, and I feel like the first 2 movies could have a whole story could have been a 3-hour movie. Um, uh, I wanna go to the universe where Guillermo del Toro actually made The Hobbit. Yeah, he was gonna make it originally, and it was gonna be 2 films, and I think what he was gonna do is what a lot of people wanted, which was just wrap it up in the 2 movies. I mean, The Hobbit is such a great story. It's one of my favorite books. I love The Hobbit. I love The Hobbit. It's a nice, fun read. It's short. It's because long books are hard for me. But Hobbit is a fair um, amount of time to read it, and it's a fun read. And when I read it, I'm like, this is 3 movies. You know, I can get 2 movies because, adapting something live action is different, you know, but I don't think it needed to be a trilogy, and you can tell that it's dragged out too. I mean, more so with Unexpected Journey, that's where all the filler is, because like, characters aren't really doing a whole lot in the first one, and it just kind of drags, and it's like, "Okay." And then Desolation of Smog, the pacing picks itself up, especially the extended cut. It's way better than Unexpected Journey, and it's just too bad that Unexpected Journey couldn't have been wrapped up in 40 minutes, and then the rest of the movie is the Desolation of Smog, storyline. Um, I honestly think that the Unexpected Journey could have been a storyline uh, wrapped up in 60 minutes. I mean, come out with an extended cut, cool, but um, that part of the book only needed an hour, and then Desolation of Smog, you give that, an hour and a half, that part of, you know, and yeah, just end it with, you know, Smog waking up to Bilbo, and literally end it there. People are like, okay, I have to go next to the next movie, like just literally have people so like, about the next movie. They could have even done something creative like how Lord of the Rings movies ended, where it showed the mountain at the end, of Two Tower Fellowship, Two Towers, so let the audience know when the movie was wrapping up. And it could even have been like as the dwarfs and Bilbo are all going to where Smog is, and we could have got some shot of them like walking, to it, and it's like a far away shot, and with music, and it fades, and you hear like some Lord of the Rings kind of, callback, and then it fades there. So the next movie would just start right there with them with Smog. So you would get so much Smog, in the first half of the movie, and then it would lead into, you know, the rest of the film. I don't know. I just think that would have been better. Well, when Expected Unexpected Journey was released, it was still going to be 2 movies. It wasn't until after they decided to split the second into 2 movies. Yeah, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, and that's why not a lot happens in Unexpected Journey, because it's not also Desolation of Smog. I know that's what originally they were gonna do, and I don't know why. I don't know. I mean, I guess money. At the end of the day, it comes down to money, and that's what kills a franchise, is when it's about money. I mean, obviously, it's gonna be about money. Any franchise, it's a business, you know. Um, but it's also a lot of times of how it's done, too. You know, like okay, you want to make 3 movies, um, but like the Battle 5 Armies could have just been the 2-hour movie, or 2 hours and 5 minutes. Um, I don't think it needed to be that long, and I don't think it would have took away, the effect of it all. In fact, since The Hobbit is a short book, for the third one to be short, I don't think that's such a bad thing. And then he could have came out with an extended cut, later, but yeah, when I watched the third one, I'm like, oh, so much of this could have been, like that battle is just so huge, and it's yeah. I mean, I have my complaints about the Hobbit movies. I mean, there's things I love about the Hobbit films. So it's kind of like I love and hate those movies, the Hobbit movies. There's things I love about them and things I hate about them. Um, but Lord of the Rings, I just entirely love all three of those films. I don't feel that way with Lord of the Rings. So I don't know. I just don't think Hobbit had enough there to be three movies. I just don't think it had enough. I kind of hate The Hobbit because it really killed Peter Jackson's desire to make narrative film because he hasn't made one since. Yeah, it kind of hurt his career because the reviews weren't you know amazing by any means. People weren't uh oh my god by it. Um, I remember critics being pretty harsh on them. Um, I think it was Unexpected Journey that got the least negative responses, and then Desolation of Smog and Battle of Five Armies, like, they were not received well by people. Um, uh, Even though I do think Desolation of Smog and Battle of Five Armies are both better than Unexpected Journey, because more happens in them. And I love the ending to Battle of Five Armies. I mean, I love that transition from The Hobbit to Lord of the Rings. Like, the fact that it ends right where Fellowship starts was really cool. How it was done, the way it was shot. I mean, I wish we would have got more of that kind of Peter Jackson, you know, um, with the Hobbit films, and it just shows that his heart was more with the Lord of the Rings story. I think he was still that was never left. Those movies were like everything. Was those movies in his career, and I just think when it comes to Middle Earth, Peter Jackson does better with a more serious tone because that's what he's used to. I mean, it's why the movies got Oscars. Um, so I don't know. Maybe he didn't want to try as much too. Maybe it was a paycheck, really. Maybe Battle of Five Armies was a paycheck. I don't know. But definitely felt like Peter Jackson wasn't as into it as Lord of the Rings. His direction wasn't as strong, nowhere near as strong as Lord of the Rings. Um, I mean, he introduced us some really cool characters and some interesting story dynamics, but um, I think it was also there's too many screenwriters. There's about like four screenwriters for all three of those movies. I think that was also the problem. Is there's too many writers. But well, I gotta go. Congrats on 15 years, and here to 15 more bigger and even better years. Oh, thanks, Zach. Yeah, I think I'm gonna end the stream. It's 10:42. I thank you so much for joining. Thank you, Cassidy, earlier for joining. Not a lot of people joined the live stream this year. Joined live stream for this stream. Um, uh, and so I thank anyone that participated or watched it. Anybody that watches the replay, hope you enjoy it. I'll do a live stream again in the future. New Ghostface final trailer is going to be coming out this month, so be sure you guys check that out when that comes out. And New Ghostface is looking really, really good right now. So um, yeah, 2 more months. 2 more months. So thank you guys for watching my live stream, and happy 15 years on my channel. Truly, I'm grateful for all the great things that have happened in the 15 years for these movies and my channel. I have bad memories, of course. I just didn't want to. I don't really want to talk about the bad memories. Um, uh, I talked, I think, a good amount, some stuff, but I overall want to talk about the good things of 15 years of my channel. So thank you guys for watching, and I will talk to you all very soon. All right, peace.